calculating Cal Twomey then comes into his own, or he's already into his own, because it's trading going crazy at the moment. Lots of speculation, lots of names being thrown up. He's the number one reporter at afl.com.au. G'day, calculating.
Good morning, Garry. Yeah, exciting times. Finals and draft and trade heating up, so lots to talk about.
Just spoke to the general manager of footy, the number one pick for the Kangaroos. Will they put that on the table?
Yeah, we spoke a couple of weeks ago and I said I think the Roos should be putting the number one pick on the table and listening offers. Well, continue today, they are doing that. North Melbourne will listen to offers on the prize number one pick. It hasn't been traded by any club since 2001, but my understanding is they're open to discussing a deal. And I think rivals will be pushing up to see what they can get and will be coming for it. Such a valuable pick. It gives clubs the option of taking a George Wardlaw or Elijah Sardis or Aaron Cadman with that top selection in the draft. North clearly has a lot going on. They're into players everywhere. Reported their interest in Junior Rioli last week on afl.com.au. Spoke a few weeks ago about Bradley Hill being keen to go there as well. But they don't have many picks, so only pick one and pick 55 or so. So seeing if they can split pick one and what that might come out makes sense to me, especially with the likelihood they won't get an early round priority pick. So that one's on the table. See what they can get for it.
Who have you got at number one right now, calculating?
Well, Will Ashcroft aside, I think it's a toss-up between George Wardlaw and Elijah Sardis, who are both midfielders. Wardlaw's hurt his hamstring a few times recently, so there's that question mark on him. Sardis is 187, 188 centimetres bigger midfielder who's done some exciting things over the past month. And Aaron Cadman's a bit of a smoky too as the key forward. So those are the three guys I think who would be in that mix. But I think mainly Wardlaw would still be ahead for a lot of clubs pending the medical information.
Aaron Francis was an early draft pick for Essendon. Hasn't really been able to nail a spot. Looked like he was going to be a key defender. Tried him forward, back, and then fell out of favour this year. Is he on the move?
Yeah, he's looking for a fresh start. He's going to seek a trade this off-season, not just to back in South Australia where he's from, but open to anywhere if it pops up. I don't think anything would happen until later, perhaps in the trade period there. He's obviously played only a few games for the Bombers this year. He got moved permanently to the backline team in the last month or so of the VFL season and played some of his better footy there. So I think that's what clubs will be looking at him as. Braden Ham, also in the group of Bombers in some contract limbo, has to wait to know if he'll get another deal. He's spoken to a couple of Victorian clubs, so could be on the move there, but has that running capacity that clubs are looking for in their wingman. Melbourne a few years ago actually looked pretty hard at him, but he stayed at the Bombers at that time.
If I'm looking at a ruckman, I'm looking at Nick Bryan from the Bombers. So I think that's where the potential lies. What's the rucking landscape right now?
Just a few to talk about today, Garry. Everyone expecting Nick Natanui to sign on and play next year, but it's also my understanding he will pen a 2-year deal, so that will actually take him through to the end of 2024. So the Eagles tend to back him in there. In the other ruckman news, Josh Gabelich reporting that Kieran Briggs at GWS has signed for 2 more years. Brisbane actually had a dip at him last year, but he's sticking with the Giants, so he's staying there. Also, Port Adelaide ruckman Sam Hayes, he has a year to run on his contract at the Power. I think he's up for trade, though. The Power used Jeremy Finlayson in the ruck second half of the year and then obviously picked mid-season choice Bryn Teakle ahead of him a couple of times. So clubs certainly aware that Sam Hayes is on the market as a ruck option. There are some names out there in the ruck merry-go-round, though, Garry. We know this every single year. We know Luke Jackson clearly likely on the move. You mentioned Nick Bryan as well. There's Lloyd Meek at Fremantle.
Grundy.
Who could be looking elsewhere. If Grundy as well, of course. We know Sam Naismith's out of contract at the Swans. Todd Goldstein yet to decide if he's to stay at Arden Street. So a lot happening in that space. Billy Franson, we spoke a few weeks ago, Riley Beveridge reported that he's set to join the Collingwood Footy Club as well.
So are Collingwood looking at him as a key position player or a backup ruckman type player?
I think it's more of a backup ruck and able to go key position defence where he's played a little bit of time more recently. I think Dan McStay would come to the Collingwood Footy Club as a dual key position player as well, able to go forward and back. So that's part of the appeal there in what McStay will be bringing as a free agent.
Calculating got 1,000 names here, so we'll get as many as we can before we have to farewell you. What about father-sons at the Bombers? You got the Davey twins, but then Joe Mercedes' boy and his Alessio's boy, are they all in contention?
I think the Davey boys are ahead at this point of those two. We've got Luca Alessio at the Calder Cannons, and Mercedes been around the system for a couple of years now, but I think he's unlikely to get picked unless maybe a rookie chance. Alessio maybe a rookie chance as well. But I think the Davey boys are certainly right up there, particularly Owen. I think Jaden, if he had played this year, would be around that mark, but he hasn't played with that second knee reconstruction. Just for on father-son that was nearly a father-son to Hawthorn, Ed Allen. He's all the buzz in the draft circles at the moment. He's the son of Ben Allen, who played at Freo and the Hawks. Ben Allen played 98 games for the Hawks, so he's too short of being father and son eligible there. And the Dockers, he doesn't reach the mark. He's around 50 games there. But Ed Allen didn't play much in the championships. He only played the last game for WA, but he's been all the talk for clubs. They've gone over and watched him play in WA. He's averaging 25 touches over the last 5 weeks. 195-centimetre wingman who can play in the midfield as well in an inside role. So just keep an eye on him in the top 30s over the next few months.
Love it. What about Griffin Logue? What are you hearing there?
Griffin Logue still has a decision to make. I mean, he's got clubs in Victoria who are looking at him. Freo clearly want to keep him. They have an offer in front of him that other clubs in Victoria do as well. So I think that's mainly either stay in Fremantle and be a part of that group, or come to Victoria and chase some success here. There's been other clubs around the country as well that have had a dip. I think if he goes, it'd be more a Victorian-based club.
A lot on Gil McLachlan's plate at the moment. Obviously, the broadcast rights, the Tasmanian move or potential move. And what's the latest on the CBA talks?
Well, we're in the last few weeks of the players' current collective bargaining agreement. Some clubs are holding off on contract calls and list decisions because they just don't know how that's going to look for next year with total player payments and so forth. There is some discussion around a potential short-term solution for the CBA being a 12-month extension to the current deal, basically in that same format, with clubs believing the extra year would add some extra clarity for all involved, a pay increase likely within that as well, but that percentage yet to be determined. The AFL Players Association, for what it's worth, said they won't be discussing the CBA or beginning negotiations with the AFL until after the next broadcast rights deal is complete, which is interesting as the broadcast deal is actually locked in for the next 2 seasons already, and the CBA ends in the next couple of weeks. But that's where that one sits, just the potential of a short-term extension there.
Calculating, it's a joy always to talk to you, and it's a big couple of months coming up for you, and we look forward to touching base on a regular basis.
Can't wait.